The journey from snake eggs to high-end luxury bags begins in an environment that feels more like a scientific lab than a factory. Inside the snake leather production facilities, every stage of transformation is carefully monitored, from hatching and growth to tanning, cutting, and the final crafting of products that eventually sell for thousands of dollars in elite boutiques. It's a process that bridges biology, craftsmanship, and controversy. One that fascinates as much as it disturbs. The snakes used in these processes are typically pythons or water snakes, bred in controlled environments designed to mimic their natural habitats. Workers ensure consistent temperature, humidity, and feeding schedules, all to optimize skin quality. Eggs are incubated under strictly regulated heat conditions, and once hatched, the snakes are monitored for size, color, and health. The goal isn't simply survival, but perfection. Scales that are evenly patterned, unblemished, and supple enough to become luxury leather. Every scale matters because in the world of exotic fashion, the quality of a single skin can determine whether it ends up as a handbag for a celebrity or discarded as factory waste. As the snakes mature, they're carefully handled, often by trained professionals who have spent years understanding reptilian behavior. Once they reach the desired length and girth, the next stage begins, and it's here that the process takes a darker turn. The harvesting of snake leather remains one of the most controversial practices in the luxury industry. In regulated environments, snakes are dispatched quickly, often through methods designed to minimize suffering. However, the debate about ethical sourcing continues, with animal rights groups questioning whether true humane standards can ever exist in exotic leather production. The industry counters with claims of sustainability. Many farms are certified and audited, ensuring that snakes are not taken from the wild and that breeding populations are maintained responsibly. After harvesting, the real artistry begins. The skins are first washed and treated to remove residues before entering the tanning process, the critical stage that transforms perishable skin into durable, flexible leather. Traditional tanneries use chemical tanning with chromium salts, but high-end facilities often prefer vegetable tanning or hybrid methods to retain the natural sheen of the scales. Workers meticulously stretch each skin, ensuring it dries evenly without cracking or discoloration. It's grueling, technical work that requires a craftsman's eye. Any imperfection could ruin a piece worth hundreds of dollars. Some of the finest leathers are even hand-tanned using proprietary mixtures that remain trade secrets passed down for generations. Once the skin is stabilized, coloring begins. Luxury brands demand precision. Each shade must match their brand identity perfectly. Expert colorists use airbrushes and layering techniques to produce gradients, metallic finishes, or deep matte tones. A single python skin can go through dozens of color tests before approval. The result is a mesmerizing texture, scales that shimmer differently under light, giving snake leather its unmistakable allure. Every piece tells a natural story. No two skins are identical, which makes every final product truly one of a kind. The next stage, cutting, is where art meets geometry. Skilled artisans lay out the skins according to the design of handbags, belts, or shoes, ensuring that the natural pattern flows seamlessly across the surface. A python bag, for instance, may require up to 3 whole skins to achieve symmetry. Cutting is done manually, often with surgical precision. One wrong move could ruin thousands of dollars worth of material. Once cut, the pieces are backed with soft leather linings to reinforce strength and then stitched together using fine threads under magnification. Some luxury brands even require double stitching to guarantee longevity and a flawless finish. But there's an undeniable ethical duality to this process. On one hand, it's a story of craftsmanship, of artisans transforming raw natural material into objects of art. On the other, it's a stark reminder of how industries commodify life in the pursuit of beauty and status. Critics argue that no matter how sustainable the farms claim to be, the concept of raising animals for their skin is inherently problematic. Yet, supporters counter that regulated snake farms reduce poaching, sustain local economies, and even contribute to ecological balance by managing species populations under controlled environments. The reality, as always, lies somewhere in between, complex, layered, and uncomfortable. Interestingly, the snake leather trade also sustains entire communities in Southeast Asia, particularly in Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Local workers, many of whom have inherited these skills through generations, rely on this craft for livelihood. They handle every stage, from feeding the snakes to cutting, tanning, and exporting the skins. For them, it's not just work, it's cultural craftsmanship, a fusion of tradition and trade. While global consumers see only the glamorous end product, the workers see the continuum, life, death, and transformation woven together in one cycle of survival and artistry. Yet, for now, traditional snake leather remains in demand, especially in high-fashion markets across Asia and the Middle East. Collectors view these pieces not just as accessories, but as investments, tangible representations of craftsmanship and exclusivity. The rarity of authentic, high-quality skins ensures their continued value. Each piece of snake leather carries a kind of primal allure, the connection to something wild, ancient, and exotic. It evokes both fascination and fear, beauty and danger, emotions that fashion has always known how to exploit brilliantly. The entire ecosystem of snake leather production is thus a paradox, equal parts art and exploitation, science and instinct, nature and commerce. It represents humanity's eternal attempt to control and repurpose the natural world, turning something as primal as a reptile's scales into a symbol of luxury. Standing in a snake leather factory, one can almost feel that duality, the clinical hum of machinery mingling with the raw, organic presence of something once alive. Every finished handbag is a story, of hands that crafted it, of scales that shimmered under tropical sunlight, of choices that walk the tightrope between ethics and elegance. How an egg hatches into a creature, how that creature becomes a canvas, and how that canvas becomes a masterpiece carried on the arms of the world's elite. It's a story of metamorphosis, beauty born from nature, and a reminder that luxury, at its core, is often the most complicated expression of humanity's relationship with the natural world. Inside the snake leather factory is not just a story of industrial production. It's a story of contradictions between beauty and brutality, luxury and life, sustainability and exploitation. When you walk through the doors of such a factory, the air is thick with both fascination and discomfort. On one side, you witness the incredible craftsmanship, workers handling every skin with surgical precision, transforming a raw, scaled texture into something supple, glossy, and incredibly valuable. On the other hand, you can't ignore the reality that this luxury begins with the capture and sacrifice of living creatures. The process begins long before the skins even arrive at the factory. Many of these snakes are farmed, raised from eggs under controlled conditions to ensure uniformity in size and skin pattern. This farming process is designed to make the leather industry more sustainable, at least on paper. It reduces hunting pressure on wild populations, allowing breeders to manage growth rates and reproduction cycles. Yet, critics argue that even these farms are not entirely ethical. Questions arise: can any operation that commodifies life to this extent truly be called sustainable? The answer isn't simple. Some environmentalists say snake farming prevents wild depletion, while animal rights groups argue that it normalizes unnecessary cruelty in the name of luxury. Once the snakes reach maturity, the transformation process begins. After humane killing protocols, as the industry claims, the skins are stripped, cleaned, and soaked in chemicals to preserve their unique scale patterns. The tanning process is meticulous. It can take weeks or even months, depending on the desired finish. The workers use a mix of ancient techniques and modern chemistry to soften the hide without losing the distinct geometric pattern of the scales. It's this pattern, unpredictable, natural, and irreplaceable, that makes snake leather such a prized material. The next step is coloration. Dyes and pigments are carefully mixed to either enhance the natural colors or create something entirely new. In some high-end operations, the dyeing process is done by hand, with artists painting each piece to bring out depth and texture. This is where art meets science. Every decision, from the thickness of the paint to the type of polish, determines how the final bag or shoe will look under store lights in Paris, Milan, or New York. What began as something primal now becomes a symbol of affluence. However, what most people don't see is the human element that drives this industry. The workers, often from small towns, have honed their skills over generations. Many come from families that have worked in tanning or crafting for decades. Their livelihoods depend on this trade, and despite the moral controversy surrounding exotic leathers, they take pride in their artistry. For them, transforming something raw and wild into an object of beauty is both heritage and survival. They are the unsung backbone of a billion-dollar luxury industry. Snake leather production, when done irresponsibly, can lead to water pollution due to chemical runoff from tanning. As you watch the final products being assembled, the shimmering bags, sleek belts, and glossy boots, it's hard not to be struck by the contrast. These items, often selling for thousands of dollars, once slithered through muddy forests or tropical wetlands. Now, they lie on velvet shelves beneath bright lights. The transformation is astonishing, almost poetic. Each stitch, each polished stroke tells a silent story of metamorphosis, from nature's wilderness to humanity's elegance. The future of this industry is uncertain. On one hand, luxury demand continues to grow, especially in Asia and Europe. On the other, digital fashion, synthetic alternatives, and rising animal welfare awareness threaten to reshape it entirely. Some companies are already experimenting with lab-grown exotic leathers that replicate the exact scale texture without harming animals. If perfected, this innovation could mark a revolution. Luxury without guilt, opulence without blood. But until that future becomes mainstream, the snake leather factory remains a vivid symbol of our complicated relationship with nature. It's a place where craftsmanship and controversy coexist, where art emerges from the most unexpected sources. Watching the process from start to finish evokes a strange mix of admiration and discomfort. Admiration for human creativity, discomfort for its moral cost. In many ways, this story mirrors humanity's larger journey, our drive to create beauty, even if it means taming and transforming the natural world. The Snake Leather Factory is not just an industrial space. It's a reflection of our collective paradox. We crave connection to nature, but also seek to conquer it. We celebrate authenticity, yet reshape it to fit our idea of perfection. And in the gleam of that final polished handbag, gold, humanity's oldest obsession, a metal so rare, so incorruptible, it's been worshipped, fought over, stolen, and locked away behind more security than most nations' nuclear codes. It's said that nothing is harder to fake or more fiercely guarded than a single bar stamped with those four shining nines, 99.99% pure gold. But inside one of America's most secretive gold refineries, hidden beyond layers of steel doors and biometric locks, lies a process so meticulous, so demanding, that even the tiniest error could shake the world's faith in the very foundation of value. Because here, in this fortress of science and secrecy, ordinary earth, dull, muddy, veined with quartz and copper, is transformed into something so flawless it can trigger billion-dollar trades with a single test, and it all begins deep underground. The story of gold doesn't start in vaults or markets, it starts in dirt. The raw gold ore that reaches the refinery arrives by the truckload, packed tight with quartz, iron, and streaks of copper. It doesn't glitter, it doesn't shine. To most eyes, it doesn't even look valuable. But hidden inside these rough, jagged stones are microscopic flecks of gold, sometimes less than 1% by weight, locked away inside a dense, tangled web of minerals. The first step is liberation. The ore is fed into giant steel crushers that thunder like mechanical beasts, grinding the rock down until it's nothing but a fine, gray-brown powder. The air fills with dust as massive rotating drums reduce centuries-old earth into something that looks almost like sand. Then comes water, gallons of it, turning that dry dust into a thick, muddy slurry. It's not glamorous, but this slurry holds the promise of fortune. Now comes chemistry's turn to work its magic. The slurry flows into a series of massive tanks where operators introduce sodium cyanide, carefully measured between 100 and 500 milligrams per liter. It sounds dangerous because it is. Cyanide, one of the most lethal chemicals known to humankind, but also one of the only substances that can gently coax gold out of rock. The cyanide bonds with the gold, forming a gold-cyanide complex that dissolves the metal atom by atom. It's slow, deliberate, a process that can take 24 to 48 hours as the slurry moves from one tank to the next, each designed to extract every last trace of gold. Operators monitor it constantly. Temperatures, concentrations, flow rates, every variable matters because even a fraction of a percent lost could mean millions of dollars gone. Then, when the gold is dissolved, activated carbon is added, black porous granules that act like sponges for precious metal. The gold molecules cling to the carbon, separating from the waste solution. That's when the mixture is pumped through filters, stripping away impurities. What's left behind is concentrated, 85 to 90% pure, a dull grayish gold powder that marks the end of the chemical phase. But this is just the beginning of transformation. To reach perfection, gold must meet its oldest ally, fire. Inside the refinery's induction furnaces, electromagnetic coils heat the concentrate to more than 1,100 degrees Celsius. It's a mesmerizing sight. The powder liquefies into molten gold, its surface shimmering with traces of copper and silver that haven't yet surrendered. Operators watch from behind heat-proof glass and thick shields as the liquid metal churns and glows like a living thing. When the temperature stabilizes, the furnace tilts, slowly, carefully, releasing a glowing stream of molten gold into heavy steel molds. Each mold is designed for bars weighing between 25 and 40 pounds. The sound is deep like thunder muffled under stone as gold meets steel. Each bar is immediately tagged and logged. The tag isn't just paperwork, it's the bar's DNA, recording where it came from, when it was melted, and the batch details that will follow it through every step ahead. From this moment on, accountability becomes part of the metal itself. The air in the foundry vibrates with heat, carrying the faint metallic scent of something ancient being reborn. Sparks dance across the floor as the operators move with practiced precision, their movements timed like choreography in a ritual that's as much art as science. Every flick of a switch, every measured pour, speaks of generations of refinement handed down through silent discipline. The molten gold pulses with a rhythm of its own, waves of orange light washing over steel walls and mirrored visors. The room hums with low-frequency energy from the induction coils, an invisible current weaving power through every particle of the metal. In that moment, the boundary between nature and engineering blurs. Raw matter yields to order. Earth's hidden treasure finally bends to human design. Sensors embedded in the furnace walls monitor temperature and conductivity, feeding streams of data to control consoles that watch every second of the transformation. Even a single degree out of range could spell disaster. Operators don't shout here. They communicate through hand signals, calm and deliberate, knowing precision is everything. When the pour is complete, the room dims slightly. The glow of the molds becomes the only light, shimmering like captured sunlight solidifying into form. The temperature begins to fall, slow and steady. A faint crackle echoes as the gold shrinks, just enough to free itself from the mold's grip. Steam curls upward, twisting like smoke in an ancient temple. The bars, now cooling on a steel rack, radiate warmth long after the flames fade. Every movement feels ceremonial, every sound deliberate, the heartbeat of a process that defines purity itself. And as the last trace of molten light fades, the bars harden into their first true form, heavy, perfect in potential, waiting for the next stage of transformation. But the leap from rough doré to 99.99% purity requires something extraordinary: electrochemistry. Inside the heart of the refinery stands a row of electrolysis cells, rectangular tanks lined with acid-resistant polymer. The air hums with a faint electrical charge. Here, the true transformation begins. Doré bars are cut into slabs and suspended in the tanks as anodes. Facing them are thin sheets of pure gold, serving as cathodes. Both are lowered into a warm bath of chloroauric acid, held at precisely 70 degrees Celsius. Then, a gentle current of 2 to 3 volts flows through. At this moment, gold dissolves from the anode atom by atom, crossing the liquid in invisible motion and depositing itself onto the cathode in flawless, uniform layers. Every impurity, silver, copper, platinum, sinks to the bottom as a dense gray sludge known as anode mud. But this mud isn't waste. Hidden within it are traces of other precious metals that will later be extracted in separate refinements. The entire room glows faintly blue, illuminated by the quiet pulse of electricity weaving through rows of tanks. The hum of current is steady, like a distant heartbeat, vibrating through the metal frames and tiled floor. A thin veil of vapor drifts above the cells, where chemistry and precision engineering merge in near silence. Operators stand watch, their eyes flicking between readouts, voltage, temperature, ion flow, every number carrying the weight of value itself. The air smells faintly of ozone and acid, sharp but clean, a scent that signals control rather than chaos. The process looks almost tranquil, but beneath that calm surface, millions of atoms are in motion, separating, aligning, reforming. Each second, a microscopic layer of perfection is built, invisible to the naked eye but vital to the bar's ultimate purity. It's a transformation that demands patience. No shortcuts exist here. The bath must remain perfectly balanced, too strong, and the gold corrodes, too weak, and the deposit falters. Every few hours, technicians test samples, ensuring that no unexpected elements sneak through. Even the light in the room is calibrated, cool, white, and uniform to minimize interference with visual inspections. To an outsider, the process might seem repetitive, but to those who understand it, it's a symphony of chemistry, guided by human discipline and trust in the unseen. The surface of each cathode begins to shimmer faintly under the light. Slowly, day by day, it thickens, layer after layer of purity forming silently in the solution. The gold takes on a color that's softer than sunlight, yet heavier than any glow known to man. It's gold in its most perfect state, untouched by imperfection, shaped by electricity itself. After 24 to 48 hours, the cathodes emerge coated in delicate gleaming sheets, 99.99% pure gold. The kind of purity that no chemical or fire alone can achieve. These thin sheets are collected, rinsed, and dried before being remelted once again, this time to perfection. Back in the induction furnaces, temperatures soar to nearly 1,200 degrees Celsius. This final melt isn't about removing impurities anymore, it's about achieving uniformity. The gold must flow flawlessly, filling every corner of precision-engineered molds without air pockets or cracks. As the molten metal settles, a hush fills the room. The glow fades, the bars solidify, smooth and unblemished, ready for testing. But even here, nothing is taken for granted. Each bar must prove itself. In the assay lab, technicians in white coats and gloves begin with X-ray fluorescent scanning. The test is quick, non-destructive, and capable of detecting the slightest impurity, even as low as 0.001%. The numbers flash on digital screens. Anything outside tolerance is immediately flagged. The room feels almost sacred, bright, silent, and precise. Stainless steel counters gleam under white light as instruments hum with quiet authority. Every movement is deliberate, every measurement exact. The technicians barely speak, communicating instead through gestures and data readouts. Then comes the fire assay, an ancient test that remains the world's ultimate judge of gold's purity. A small sliver from a sample bar is placed in a clay cupel and subjected to blistering heat. Every non-gold element burns away. What's left is pure gold, weighed and measured to microscopic precision. Only when both tests agree, the modern and the ancient, does the bar earn its mark. Each one is stamped with weight, fineness, and a unique serial number before being logged into global registries that track its journey from ore to bullion. Every bar becomes part of a legacy of trust. But trust alone isn't enough in the world of gold. Inside the West Point Mint, security operates on a level that borders on science fiction. The vault doors here weigh 21 tons each. No single person can open them. Access requires multiple key holders, biometric scans, and cross-verification from control rooms. Every entry and exit is recorded, audited, and reviewed. Inside, the air is cool and dry, the temperature and humidity held constant to protect the bars from even microscopic change. Each gold bar is non-magnetic, traceable, and subject to random inspections. Nothing leaves these walls without verification. Because in the world of gold, certainty is everything. A single impurity, a single fake, a single breach in trust could ripple through markets, collapsing confidence overnight. And that's not theory, it's history. In 2012, counterfeit bars filled with tungsten appeared in New York, so precisely made they fooled experienced traders. In 2020, thousands of suspect bars from Congo turned up with forged refinery marks. And in 2023, Dubai Customs seized over $60 million in gold-plated fakes, caught only through X-ray and ultrasonic scans. Each of those moments sent shockwaves through the market. Because gold's value isn't just in its shine, it's in the proof that what you're holding is real. To stay ahead of deception, modern refineries have turned to new defenses: high-frequency ultrasound testing, RFID chips, and blockchain tracking. Every legitimate bar now carries its own digital fingerprint, etched by laser and stored across international databases. This means that every piece of 99.99% pure gold produced in America today can be traced back to the exact furnace, the exact batch, even the exact moment it solidified. Every ounce of trust or earned, not assumed. And while digital currencies rise and fall and markets fluctuate, gold remains what it's always been, the benchmark for value itself. Its brilliance is more than beauty, it's a promise forged in chemistry, tested in fire, and locked away behind the heaviest doors ever built by human hands. Because when the world wavers, gold endures. It doesn't rust, it doesn't corrode, it doesn't change. It simply waits, nadita, flawless, untouchable, eternal. And that's how 99.99% pure gold is made inside America's most secret factory. If this journey inside the hidden world of gold fascinated you, there's a lot more to uncover. The world's most valuable secrets aren't just in what's shown. There's something about diamonds that just stops people mid-sentence. They sparkle like they're alive. They cost more than entire neighborhoods, and yet they're basically fancy carbon. The same element in your pencil tip, just under a ridiculous amount of pressure. Literally. Now imagine this. Somewhere deep under your feet, carbon atoms are having the most intense makeover in history. We're talking temperatures so high your phone would melt just hearing about them. Pressures that would crush steel, and somehow, through all that chaos, the diamond is born. Tiny, perfect, and ready to cause financial heartbreaks across the world. But let's rewind, because before that diamond ends up in a velvet box or on someone's finger during a teary proposal, it's already lived a story spanning billions of years. Yeah, billions. It started about 200 kilometers below the surface, in the Earth's mantle, a place so extreme it makes the Sahara look like a fridge. Down there, carbon atoms start aligning themselves into a crystal lattice, a kind of atomic origami that turns something soft and dull into something nearly indestructible. And no, it's not like diamonds are just sitting there waiting to be picked up. They're trapped, locked away deep underground for millions of years until something wild happens. Volcanic eruptions. Not the fiery, lava-spewing kind that make the news, but ancient eruptions that blasted magma from the depths to the surface. That magma cooled into special rocks called kimberlites, and those kimberlites? They're basically time capsules carrying diamonds from the underworld. That's where humans come in, because of course we do. The moment someone found a shiny stone buried in the dirt and realized it could buy a kingdom, the hunt was on, and that hunt has gotten elaborate. Today, finding diamonds isn't about stumbling upon one in a river like some lucky prospector in a movie. Nope, geologists are out here using satellites, gravity sensors, and magnetic scanners like detectives following cosmic breadcrumbs. A single grain of kimberlite dust found in sediment can set off a full-blown expedition costing millions. Imagine getting that job. Find the invisible rock that hides the shiny rocks. No pressure, right? Once they locate a promising site, things get industrial, fast. Open pit mines the size of small cities are carved into the earth in spiral ramps that go down hundreds of meters. And if the deposit is deeper, they dig tunnels that descend nearly a kilometer underground. It's dark, hot, humid, and somehow worth it, because in all that rock, just a few tiny pieces sparkle. On average, you need to dig up 250 tons of rock to get one single carat. That's like processing an entire skyscraper's worth of dirt to find a pebble. After extraction, the rocks go through some of the most delicate destruction you've ever seen. Giant crushers grind them down, but with surgical precision. Because while diamonds are famously hard, they're also brittle. Hit them wrong, and congratulations, you've just turned $50,000 into glitter. So everything is done with absurd accuracy. Machines crush just enough to free the diamonds without damaging them. Then comes the wash. Massive drums spinning with high-pressure water, blasting away mud and dust. Out comes a concentrated mix of minerals, and that's when modern tech takes over. See, diamonds have a strange party trick. They glow when hit with X-rays. So conveyor belts carrying crushed rock pass under scanners that detect those tiny flashes. In a split second, a jet of air fires and pops the diamond out of the stream. It's fast, elegant, and weirdly satisfying. Imagine watching hundreds of invisible gems being plucked out of chaos by bursts of air. Somewhere out there, an engineer definitely built that machine just to feel like a wizard. Now the diamonds are free, but they're not exactly glamorous yet. They look rough, cloudy, sometimes like broken glass. So the next phase is sorting, deciding which stones are destined for jewelry and which are going to be turned into industrial tools. About 80% of diamonds actually end up in drills, saws, and cutting instruments because of their toughness. The other 20%? Those are the ones that get to live the high life. And that's when things get seriously technical. Each rough diamond is scanned in 3D down to the micrometer. Advanced software simulates exactly how light will bounce inside it. The program figures out how to cut the stone for maximum sparkle, while avoiding internal flaws that might ruin it. Sometimes a large diamond gets sliced into multiple smaller ones. Other times, the flaws are so minimal that cutters leave it whole, creating those legendary once-in-a-lifetime stones that sell for millions. Cutting itself is a science mixed with art. Lasers make the first incisions clean and precise, then expert cutters step in with diamond-tipped tools to shape and polish each facet. Fun fact, only a diamond can cut another diamond, so yes, they polish each other, like the world's most exclusive self-care routine. Every angle matters. Every surface has to reflect light perfectly. That signature sparkle people love isn't magic, it's geometry. Mess up one angle and you lose that fire and brilliance that makes diamonds hypnotic. For a master cutter, polishing a single gem can take weeks. Imagine spending a month perfecting something the size of a raisin, knowing one wrong move could ruin it forever. Once the cutting is done, it's time for certification. The diamond world's equivalent of getting a passport. Stones are sent to labs like the GIA or IGI, where they're tested for authenticity and graded based on the 4 C's: carat, color, clarity, and cut. Each stone gets a microscopic code laser engraved on its girdle. You can't see it with your eyes, but it's there, proof of origin and quality. At that point, the diamonds leave the labs and enter a whole new world: luxury. Jewelers like Tiffany, Cartier, and Harry Winston take these tiny marvels and design settings that make them sing. Rings, necklaces, crowns. Each one is a mix of art, engineering, and ego. A diamond never stands alone. It's always paired with a story, a gesture, a meaning someone paid a fortune for. But as bright as the story shines, there's a darker side that refuses to be ignored. In some parts of the world, like Sierra Leone, Angola, or the Central African Republic, diamonds have fueled wars, funded militias, and left behind unimaginable suffering. These are what the world calls blood diamonds, and the irony is painful, a symbol of love and commitment born out of exploitation and violence. Thankfully, global awareness and traceability systems are starting to make a difference. Buyers now demand ethical sourcing, and certifications like the Kimberley process aim to keep conflict stones out of the market. Still, it's a reminder that behind every sparkle is a history, sometimes beautiful, sometimes brutal. Yet humanity doesn't stop at dark truths, it innovates. Scientists looked at all this and said, you know what, let's just make our own. And thus lab-grown diamonds became a thing. Lab-grown diamonds are one of those things that sound fake until you realize they're very real, and they're shaking up an entire industry. These aren't cheap knockoffs or fakes like cubic zirconia. They're chemically, physically, and optically identical to natural diamonds. The only difference? Instead of taking 1 billion years under the Earth's crust, they take a few weeks inside a machine that basically recreates the planet's mantle. There are 2 main ways to do it. One is called HPHT, short for high pressure, high temperature, which is exactly what it sounds like. Scientists take a tiny diamond seed, place it in a chamber, and blast it with around 1,500 degrees Celsius of heat and pressure so high they could crush a tank. Layer by layer, carbon atoms start bonding, building up a diamond crystal just like nature does it, but way faster. The second method, CVD, or chemical vapor deposition, sounds even crazier. Imagine a futuristic tanning bed, except instead of giving you a tan, it grows diamonds. Inside a vacuum chamber, methane gas is heated until it releases carbon atoms. Those atoms slowly settle on a flat diamond plate, forming a new crystal over several weeks. What you end up with is a pure, flawless diamond. No dirt, no imperfections, no need to dig a hole the size of a stadium. And guess what? These lab diamonds are so good that even experts often need advanced equipment to tell them apart from natural ones. They look the same, shine the same, and cut the same. Some even argue they're better. Guilt-free sparkle, no environmental destruction, no human exploitation. The only people who aren't thrilled are the ones who make money from digging them out of the ground. But science didn't stop there. Some companies took things in an emotional direction. They now offer what they call memorial diamonds, stones grown using the carbon from a loved one's ashes. Think about that. You can literally turn a memory into something eternal. It's strange, beautiful, and slightly eerie, but it proves how deeply intertwined diamonds are with our emotions. Because here's the truth. Diamonds have always been more than just carbon. They've been symbols for strength, for eternity, for love that supposedly never fades, thanks to one of the most successful marketing campaigns ever. Back in 1947, the diamond company De Beers came up with a slogan that changed everything. A diamond is forever. Those 4 words transformed an ordinary crystal into the ultimate symbol of romance. It wasn't just an ad, it was psychological alchemy. Before that campaign, diamond engagement rings weren't a thing. After it, they became the thing. Generations grew up believing a proposal wasn't real without one, and De Beers laughed all the way to the bank. That's the wild part about diamonds. Their story is half geology, half human imagination. Nature made them rare and beautiful, but it was people who decided what they meant. From royal crowns to red carpet necklaces to lab-grown keepsakes, every diamond tells a slightly different version of the same story. We crave permanence in a world that constantly changes. Now let's circle back to the production side, because the numbers are almost absurd. Global diamond mining produces roughly 120 million carats a year. That's around 24 tons of diamonds. So next time you see a diamond glittering under a store light, think about where it's been. From carbon atoms trapped 200 kilometers below the Earth to the chaos of volcanic eruptions, through billion-dollar machinery, laser-guided cutters, and ethical debates, All that just to end up on a ring or a pendant. That sparkle isn't just light. It's a history lesson compressed into a single shimmer. And maybe that's why even after centuries of mining, marketing, and man-made alternatives, we still can't look away, because deep down, every human, whether in a mine, a lab, or a luxury boutique, is searching for something that lasts forever. So if you've enjoyed diving into the world beneath the sparkle, what if luxury wasn't just worn, but forged under the heat of 1,000 degrees, behind locked doors, under intense secrecy? And what if the gold on your wrist didn't just look premium, but was made from scratch by the very people who engineered the watch itself? Welcome to the inner sanctum of Rolex, where gold doesn't just shine, it's built to endure. Inside the Rolex manufacturing facility, it's not just craftsmanship, it's total control. Every grain of gold, every molecule of steel, every flicker of lume, it's all Rolex. And they wouldn't have it any other way, because to Rolex, perfection isn't just a goal, it's standard procedure. Let's start right at the core of the operation. The Gold Foundry. Rolex is one of the very few luxury watchmakers in the world. Actually, scratch that, it's the only one that makes its own gold and platinum in-house. Not sourced, not subcontracted, not outsourced. Made. Right there, inside the Rolex compound in Geneva. Now picture this, 24-karat pure gold bars, gleaming and heavy, arriving at the Rolex facility. But Rolex doesn't just slap that gold into a case or bracelet. That would be too easy. And way too soft. See, pure 24-karat gold is beautiful, but it's also far too malleable for everyday wear. It scratches, it dents, it bends. Not exactly the kind of material you'd want on a timepiece that's built to last generations. So what does Rolex do? It melts the 24-karat gold, heats it until it's a glowing liquid, then uses specially guarded recipes to blend it with exact proportions of other metals: silver, copper, platinum, palladium. Each of these alloys is added in meticulous ratios to create Rolex's iconic 18-karat golds. Yellow gold, white gold, and their legendary Everose gold, Rolex's own patented take on rose gold. But here's the thing, it's not just about color, it's about structure. Rolex engineers these blends so precisely that the resulting metal isn't just beautiful, it's engineered for resilience. Every pour is measured, timed, and controlled. The temperatures are tightly regulated, the humidity, even the ambient air quality in the foundry matters. The alloying process isn't some off-the-shelf operation. It's a ritual, done by trained hands, guided by proprietary data, conducted in an environment that Rolex has optimized down to the last cubic meter. The workers operating these furnaces are more than technicians. They're metallurgical artists. Once the metals are added, the mixture is stirred in exact cycles. It's not about speed, it's about consistency. One wrong ratio, 1 second too long, and the entire batch could be off. Rolex isn't just chasing a gold standard, it defines the gold standard. After alloying, samples are pulled from the molten blend and tested immediately. Right there in the foundry, on-site spectrometers analyze the mix at an atomic level. If the sample doesn't meet Rolex's standard, it's rejected on the spot. No close enough, no maybe later, just out. The accepted alloy is then cast into molds to form long rods or bars, which will later be processed into sheets, links, cases, or bezels. But even this casting phase is custom to Rolex. The molds are specially designed to reduce porosity, eliminate microcracks, and ensure even cooling. After solidification, those gold bars are set aside to rest. Yes, rest. Rolex lets the metal stabilize. It's a step that sounds simple, but is critical. As the metal cools, stress is relieved from the structure. It's like letting bread dough rise, except instead of yeast, it's metallurgy. Then begins the transformation from raw gold bar to usable component. The bars are milled down, cut into blanks, and inspected again. Edges are checked for uniformity, Surfaces are checked for density. Grain direction is monitored. Rolex isn't leaving anything to chance. And when it's finally time to shape the components, that's where the human touch returns in full force. Craftsmen and women take those gold blanks and start forming bezels, cases, and links. Each piece is cold-formed under pressure to maintain metal strength. The forming tools used are Rolex-designed, custom-built, serviced constantly. Some are even made with diamond-coated elements to maintain edge accuracy. Because gold is soft, but Rolex gold isn't allowed to behave that way. The components are then heat-treated again, going through annealing ovens to bring them to the perfect molecular tension. Not too hard, not too soft. The result? A piece of 18-karat gold that wears like steel, but glows like treasure. And throughout all of this, every batch, every pour, every component is tracked. Rolex logs every stage of transformation for internal consistency. The metallurgy is archived. The performance of each alloy batch is recorded. It's like a lab notebook for luxury. This is how Rolex guarantees that their gold doesn't just shine today, it shines the same 10 years from now, 20 years, 50. The color, the durability, the resistance, it all holds because it was engineered to, not guessed, not hoped, engineered. This entire approach from molten gold to machined case exists so Rolex can say something no one else can. This gold is ours. Every atom, every shade, every edge, controlled, created, and perfected within the walls of one company. This process happens inside a purpose-built foundry Rolex introduced in the early 2000s, and it's not open for tours, not even for industry insiders. No photos, no video. Rolex guards this operation like a Swiss vault, but through carefully controlled disclosures and insider accounts, we now know what happens inside. It's the kind of place that feels more like a high-security research lab than a workshop. Swipe card access, retinal scanners, only essential personnel are allowed beyond certain doors, and everyone who enters is bound by strict confidentiality agreements. Even suppliers who deliver raw materials rarely get to see where that material ends up. Rolex compartmentalizes every aspect of the process. Need-to-know basis, always. The fewer eyes, the fewer leaks. That's how secrets stay secrets. There are no press visits, no influencer walkthroughs, no behind-the-scenes documentaries. Not even close. The foundry is a black box, and Rolex intends to keep it that way. The only reason we know anything at all is because Rolex allows just enough information to slip through. Just enough to confirm it exists, but not enough to replicate. The culture inside is monastic, focused, quiet. There are no loud machines whirring constantly. The equipment is advanced, but the environment is surprisingly calm. Rolex believes precision thrives in stillness. Tools aren't left out. Everything is cataloged, cleaned, stored. The place runs like a Swiss watch, pun fully intended. Even small tasks like transferring metal samples are done with a kind of ritualistic care that borders on obsessive. Visitors, when they are granted access to the building's outer areas, are watched closely. You won't find anyone wandering off or pulling out a smartphone. It's not even allowed inside most sections. The entire perimeter is controlled, cameras, sensors, and layers of security. And Rolex doesn't just keep this process locked down for show. It's because the techniques used inside the foundry, the recipes, the casting methods, the finishing techniques are 100% proprietary. Competitors have tried to reverse engineer Rolex alloys for decades. They've gotten close, but never quite there. Because without knowing the exact processes used, the atmospheric conditions, the resting periods, the microscopic tests, the results are always just a little off. Rolex knows this. That's why they don't outsource. That's why they don't brag. They just work, quietly, meticulously, behind those thick Geneva walls. Even the foundry's physical location within Rolex facilities isn't promoted. There's no big sign, no separate entrance. From the outside, you'd never know it was there. Just another anonymous-looking building in a quiet industrial zone. But inside, that's where the transformation happens, where raw gold turns into Everose, where alloys are born, where case blanks take shape, where the materials that define Rolex's legacy are literally forged. This is where Rolex's magic is made, not in marketing decks or fancy boutiques, but in fire, pressure, and secrecy. The foundry is the heart of the brand, and it beats behind locked doors. Foundry men melt 24-karat gold over roaring flames. That molten gold is then poured through a sieve, creating droplets that fall into vats of water. The instant cooling hardens them into beads of 18-karat gold. Those beads are the starting point for Rolex's cases, bezels, crowns, and bracelets, and that's only step one. And the same extreme level of control applies to Rolex's other materials. Take oyster steel, for example. This isn't just any steel. It's a 904L stainless steel, an ultra-resistant high-performance alloy that Rolex has used since the mid-80s. 904L steel isn't easy to work with. It's tougher, more durable, and more resistant to corrosion than the more common 316L used by most other watchmakers. But Rolex wasn't interested in what's easy. They were after what's better. 904L, or as they call it, oyster steel, offers unmatched brilliance when polished. That mirror-like shine? It doesn't come cheap. Before Rolex even begins shaping it, this steel is examined under microscopes. Every grain, every layer. If the microstructure isn't right, it doesn't make the cut. Once approved, the metal is primed, hardened, and refined again. Then finally, expert polishers unlock that signature glow that sets Rolex apart. And then there's Rolsor, another Rolex original. It's a marriage between oyster steel and gold. Toughness meets elegance. Rolsor combines the core strength of steel with the nobility of 18-karat gold, usually seen in the bezel, crown, or center links of the bracelet. It's become a visual signature, that seamless blend of luxury and durability. And speaking of innovation, what Rolex does with light is equally impressive. Enter ChromaLight. Back in 2008, Rolex unveiled this breakthrough display tech. During the day, the markers look crisp and clean, but at night, the glow is unmistakable, a deep, piercing blue, not the green lume you see on most other watches. ChromaLight is more than just good looks. It's engineered to store ambient light energy, then release it slowly and evenly in dark conditions. It's a custom-developed substance made from a blend of aluminum, strontium, dysprosium, and europium, which is first powdered, then heated, then blended with resin, and applied by hand to each dial marker and hand. This level of precision is what defines Rolex. From metals to lume is either developed, refined, or crafted entirely in-house. They don't chase trends, they engineer timelessness. Take RLX titanium, for instance. Rolex could have easily adopted standard titanium years ago. Lots of brands did. It's light, strong, corrosion-resistant, but Rolex wanted more control. RLX titanium is a special grade 5 titanium alloy, and Rolex spent years studying its properties before deciding to bring it in-house. Now, think about all these materials, gold, steel, titanium, platinum, and imagine the coordination it takes to blend them into a single cohesive timepiece. That's why Rolex doesn't outsource its research and development. They have full-scale professional labs on site, chemistry labs, physics labs, stress testing chambers. Watch components get tested under brutal conditions, extreme heat, cold, moisture, shock. Each part gets tortured before it ever ends up on a customer's wrist. If it breaks, it goes back to the drawing board. If it survives, it earns the crown. This obsessive attention to material science is why a Rolex feels different, why it lasts, why it means something. It's not just the logo, it's the years of metallurgy, testing, and hands-on craftsmanship behind every element, even the ones you never see. No shortcuts, no compromises. Rolex controls everything, and this control means that when a $50,000 Daytona or Day-Date rolls off the line, it's not just a luxury object. It's a material marvel, forged from raw elements reshaped by science and perfected by hand. So next time someone says it's just a watch, show them the Rolex foundry. Show them the steel that's scanned on a microscopic level. Show them the rose gold that never fades. The glow-in-the-dark markers built from rare earth elements. the titanium that shimmers like silver even after years of wear. Because a Rolex isn't just built to look good, it's built to outlast, built to perform, built to live. And when you wear one, whether it's a classic Datejust or a cutting-edge Yachtmaster, you're not just wearing gold or steel. You're wearing decades of research, an obsession with detail, and a relentless pursuit of mastery, all forged from a single bar of gold. If you found this deep dive into the Rolex Gold Factory as fascinating as we did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on more behind-the-scenes stories of craftsmanship, luxury, and innovation.